All right. Well, happy Taco Tuesday, everybody. And we are here with two of my favorite gentlemen that I get the honor to call my colleagues. We'll do a very brief introduction, and we're going to get straight into dispelling some of the rumors that have been floating out there. And I think there's some uncertainty in the air as to, some of the moves that we might be making in comparison to some moves that some of our competitors, so to speak, you could say, have been making. But we have the founder of eXp Realty, our visionary, Glenn Sanford, on with us today. And, one of the most dynamic leaders also in our company that we get to work with, Leo Pereira, Chief Strategy Officer. And we brought you guys on today just because I don't I like getting things straight from the horse's mouth, and y'all are, on a different level in strategic thinking than I, and I certainly don't see everything as most don't. Although we are very transparent at the company, and we get to know, what we're going to be doing as far as the future is concerned. But, we really want to hear straight from you guys with regard specifically to, the rumor that's floating out there is that we are going to be following suit of one of our competitors to take our listings off of the IDX feed and going with a VOW type of a strategy. As soon as I got the text messages coming through my phone this morning, I immediately reached out to Glenn. Glenn offered kindly to take some of his time out and offered Leo to hop on here. I think before we get into the fact that we're not going to be doing this and why, which is even more important, explain to people that are watching that maybe they don't even know what an IDX is versus a VOW type of technology.
Yeah. So, the reality is that, consumers search websites, whether it be eXp Realties or any of the various other websites that exist out there. Obviously, Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, some of the more trafficked websites, but they also search every single real estate brokerage website. If a consumer is working with eXp Realty, an agent, generally speaking, they're going to use the website, but then also just the public at large. And I can tell you our traffic's been doing really well. We've got a new program called My Link, My Lead. Maybe we touch on it, Leo. Maybe you can discuss that here in a little bit, what that is. But what I've learned, and I'm an internet marketer. Leo's been an internet marketer. I think, Al, you've got a strategy around that. Is that the value of a real estate website is based on the quality and the quantity of the homes that are available for sale on that website. Now, there's other bells and whistles that go along with it in terms of searchability and that type of thing. But generally speaking, a website is only useful if you can find all the properties that are listed for sale. And the other piece that is really important, and I say this as a consumer, I search for properties as well. And I use, multiple websites, including obviously eXp Realties, but I'll go and use other websites to search for properties, et cetera. But I don't share my personal info with websites just because they want to put a paywall up to force me to pay with my personal information in order to see info, because I'm a jaded consumer at heart, which basically means I don't want to just get marketed to when I'm not ready to be marketed to. And I know that if I share that personal information, I will be marketed to, and I'll have to figure out ways to get off the list, so to speak. And so the idea is really to only share my information with a trusted agent that I actually want to be in business with. And I want them and myself to have access to all the info. So just to bring everybody up to speed, there's a fairly big announcement that was targeted specifically to agents at I think a particular firm, but now it's actually went more viral. I've seen it on a couple of websites. Leo, you pointed it out, where one brokerage has decided to not publicly share their listings with the 80+% of real estate brokerages out there, unless the people using those websites actually share their personal identifiable information with that website. And this is going back to the dark ages of the internet. The internet has been designed, and the whole idea is really empowering consumers and customers and individuals and clients and agents to be able to have choice by being transparent and open and providing as much information as possible. I remember when I got in the business in 2002, I was the first person to really be using an IDX and providing lists of properties. And yet there were old school brokerages and old school trainers that kept on saying, don't give them information unless they tell you who they are. Well, the modern consumer doesn't fundamentally want to share their information with people they don't know, like, and trust early in the search process. It just doesn't happen. Now, could they see a property and be wowed by it and go, I don't have an agent, and type in their info? Absolutely. That's part of what internet marketing works like. But if they don't see the property to begin with, they're not going to share their personal information. So I don't know, Leo, I know you and I just had a brief chat about this, and you were like, this is pretty anti-consumer, but maybe you can share some of your thoughts.
And I'm sorry, my internet disconnected at the beginning of the call. Yeah, so I mean, just the clarification of what a VAL versus an IDX feed is. The IDX is the consumer version of the corporation model that MLS exists. So by removing your broadcast into that feed, you're actually hurting your seller, right? So it feels quite anti-consumer, even if and short-sighted in order to capture a couple more paywalls. But it goes against, kind of what is your job as a practitioner, to put your property in as many places as possible to, find the best and highest offer for your consumer. So as Glenn and I were just discussing it just doesn't make any sense from what we're here to do for consumers. And it feels like a very short-sighted game in the long run. I mean, the internet has proliferated the information. This is almost going back to the books we all may have seen 20 years ago, and it just doesn't make any sense to us.
Yeah, and I appreciate you pointing out the differences, because many of the consumers don't. If you said IDX to them, they say, "What's that?" I just want to look for homes. I want to shop for homes. They don't understand that the data exchange is the ability for a broker to say, we're going to allow all the other brokers that are in cooperation with the MLS to share our listings, and in return, they're going to share theirs with ours, so we can all work in a cooperative manner, which has served us really well for a very long time. What would you say the biggest difference between the IDX powered versus the latter?
Well, the VAL is the broker feed, right? So the IDX is the consumer version of what's inside of the cooperating MLSs. So an average MLS has somewhere between 100 to 160 required fields. IDX may only display 12 or 16 fields, which will be your typical ones, like your bedroom, your address, your photos, and whatever the rules of engagement that MLS has set aside. But then everyone cooperates and shares the same information. So in order to send out receive an IDX feed for your website, if you go to albstasic.com, then you'd be cooperating and sending it in there. So to not participate in that behavior that's well established seems not logical at this point, right? The genie's out of the bottle, the horse is out of the barn, whatever analogy you want, and more specifically, it's the best thing for the consumer, right? We do cooperate and compete, but that's one of the things that make organized real estate a super unique and efficient market. I was just sharing with Glenn recently. I just been trying to sell my parents' home overseas in Belize, and we've tried 4 different companies, from national to local, and we're relying on the agent building a little website and hoping that the person puts the right keywords into Google and finds my one realtor's house. And that's one of the amazing things of organized real estate in North America, which I don't think people really appreciate how unique that is. That is a US and Canada thing only. Most other, even first world countries like the UK and Japan and other Australia don't have the cooperation and compensation benefits that we have in organized real estate in North America.
Yeah. And I think like just boiling it right down to the principle that what drives prices higher for sellers is a demand. And I think that it would be reasonable to state that one of the ways that we're able to grow demand is by growing exposure. If you limit exposure, you're ultimately limiting demand. I think,
No,
it's just,
Albie, you hit it on the head. The definition of how liquid an asset is what you're getting to is a marketplace, right? So in the example I just said of selling something overseas where you don't have that liquidity, we're going on 4 years on the market and it's priced correctly versus weeks or days, which is what we experience here. Because when you list something and it's syndicated correctly into every website, millions of eyeballs can see that, schedule a showing, submit an offer. So we have a very efficient market, which for a very illiquid asset, which is real estate, I feel that North American real estate enjoys as much liquidity as possible when you need to sell because of this efficient marketplace we all enjoy together.
yeah. So when I was heavy into listing, and I know you grew a huge team and organization yourself. You were a top producing real estate agent and broker and team leader at one time. Is that one of the things when I sat in front of a seller is I could confidently look them in the eye and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're not only going to market your home on our site, but we're going to market on all of the brokers' sites throughout that are cooperating brokers, anyways, that with our MLS and that participate in this IDX thing. They don't care about what IDX does or the POW or anything. They care about exposure. And the reason they care about exposure is because it increases demand. Therefore, in turn, is theoretically going to increase their price. And I don't really know too many sellers that don't want a high price, and they're not looking to leave money on the table. So thank you for that that explanation for people that maybe they're out there, they don't know. And ultimately, if everything, if you're listening to this and you're agreeing with us, I think that the logical best next thing to think about is that this isn't good for the listing agent either, because they can't sit down and look the seller in the face and tell them they're getting maximum exposure when their listing's been taken off over 80% of the other sites from other brokers. And so I appreciate you guys articulating that.
I'll take it a step further. I think this is the single most powerful tool a listing agent has to market a property. So it's not like 1 out of 10 things on the list. I would say this is 8 out of 10 things on the list, because it's this IDX output that then can be marketed to everybody. So I think it's
Love
quite dangerous and harmful for folks not
I
participating.
know you guys took time out of your schedule to do this live, and I think it'd be short-sighted not to think of the new technology that's patent pending right now that I'm super stoked about. And I know you are, Glenn, and Leo, you've had a big heart. Can you explain, and this would be, I guess, more directed toward the agents that are listening in the audience to this broadcast. What's my listing, my lead, I'm getting it wrong here, the terminology, because it hasn't even been rolled out yet, but explain to us the new technology that's going to help agents explode their business with eXp.
You want to take that one, Glenn?
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is, both, I think all of us, but I was a huge internet marketer as a real estate professional, and I generated over 100,000 leads to my team, and then ultimately the brokerage that I ran prior to founding eXp. And so I understand tools that are needed to actually grow a business. And so Leo actually, with our internal team, website team, through Showcase and then also I guess Zoocasa as well, started to work on a project last year, not long after Leo started to join, which is My Link, My Lead. And when I saw this, it was funny because it was, I think in January or February, we were in Florida together. And I said, wouldn't it be great if, and Leo goes, oh, let me show you what we've been working on. And sure enough, there it was. And so what it basically allows an agent to do, and this dovetails really well with this conversation, is allows an agent to actually build a link to exprealty.com where they're actually able to get those leads in their local marketplace right into their inbox, just like they would expect in any IDX type of format. But because they're working on the big national portal, which is exprealty.com, which again, uniquely, we're one company, operating in all 50 states, and we're able to actually use that link to actually generate leads all over the US. And I think if not now, but shortly into Canada, whereas leads get generated outside of your local market, we'll actually help and work on your behalf to actually get that lead into the hands of a qualified agent who is a solid agent in that marketplace, ultimately get it to a closed transaction, and ultimately get you paid for helping us market exprealty.com. Now, where this is kind of interesting is that you might be promoting listings or promoting a link, and you might be in, maybe Southern California, just use that as a market. But you've got a consumer that's moving from California to Ohio. So they see your link, they click on their link, they start searching in Ohio, and they start to see all the listings that are syndicated to the IDX, and they'll select potentially a property and then potentially request a showing, etc. That will only work with all the listings that are syndicated through the IDX. It's possible. I seriously doubt that that'll be forever, but it's possible that they won't see a percentage, maybe 20% of the inventory that they could potentially see on the website, which would be the same for virtually any other website that they might be surfing and looking through. And so they'll see all the properties, and we fully open up all of our listings to IDX exposure. So you see all the eXp listings, you'll see all the Keller listings, you'll see all the Remax listings, you'll see all the, you name most of the brands, but there's one that will be just absent from your search. And so you won't see those homes, which again will just be sort of a negative to you, because you'll just select from properties you see, and which is great for the agent. Maybe they find the other properties that are listed to show you as well. But in a lot of cases, you just won't see that other inventory, and it won't even be aware that there's some other homes to potentially see.
Yeah, I'm super excited when this gets rolled out. Leo, you had anything to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, just to take it a step further, just from the how the agent that should think about it. So you're an agent, you have a KV Core, Chime, Boomtown, whatever. Pick your favorite IDX website that built your business. You're limited to your membership. So Albie, whatever MLS you belong to, that's the IDX fee that gets plugged into your IDX website. So us as a broker, we have all the feeds in exprealty.com. So if you have a client that moves out of your MSA that you belong to that MLS, you basically lose them because they start looking in Zillow, Realtor, local websites. And so, as we all know, and how the conversation started with paywalls, agents are very aggressive in following up with that lead. So you lose the ability to connect that with a trusted vetted referral from you as the originating agent. But if that consumer continues to search, you help them leave your home market and they search in their new market with your link, they'll see your name and face for attribution. But when they're ready, that lead, based on when we roll it out, we'll be able to set up your parameters, whether that's you refer them inside of your rev share group or some folks that you've designated in certain markets. We're still, it's going to be in beta as we roll it out. Again, the most important thing is we are following IDX rules, and we're only connecting that lead to a licensed member of that MLS and all that fun stuff. So we're really being very thoughtful about that, but it's that ability to maintain that conversation and also even marketing it, right? You could be in Southern California and you could do one of those posts on social media about a fun, ranch property in some other state that you don't practice in, or a famous property listed that may have been in a TV show. And then when folks click through, we can actually give you attribution as the originator of that lead. Hence, my link, my lead. And it's a play on words from my listing, my lead, which is a theory with MLS websites.
Love it. Well, fellas, I really appreciate you guys coming on here. My takeaways are that, you and Glenn always, he says it all the time, that their main focus is always iterating on the agent value proposition. And by focusing on that, it allows our agents, it empowers our agents to serve the consumer better. So not only are we the most agent-centric brokerage on the planet, but that empowers our agents to serve our clients at the highest level, because you're supporting them at the highest level. And I really appreciate all the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears y'all put into our brokerage and coming on here today. And you know, if you were happened to be in an office meeting this Tuesday morning and heard that eXp Realty is moving away from our IDX feed to going to some other technology, now you've heard it right from the two of the boss's lips here today, that simply is not happening, because it would not be consumer centric or agent centric. Appreciate y'all from coming on.
Thanks, Al.
Grateful for you. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.